Let's get ready to rumble!
What's going on, Fight Buzz? Welcome to Legendary Fights, new segment here on Fight Buzz TV. Let me take you guys all the way back to September of 1992. This fight was named The Ultimate Glory. Julio Cesar Chavez, a living legend, against Hector El Macho Camacho. The good old boxing rivalry, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. This was a unification fight. This was a fight that paralyzed the whole boxing community, paralyzed Mexico, paralyzed Puerto Rico. This was the number one guy, the number one pound for pound champion, which was Julio Cesar Chavez at the time, against Hector El Macho Camacho. So I'm gonna give you guys a little context. We had on one side, the Mexican warrior, the people's champion, Julio Cesar Chavez. The warrior that, to get one punch in, he would take 2 to 3 punches. He would come forward. He would beat everybody. He would knock everybody out. And he was the number one pound for pound champion. The man didn't speak English, never wanted to learn English. He loved his country. He loved Mexico. And everybody adored him. Again, he was the number one pound for pound champion, the people's champion, and he was coming into the fight 81-0, which you don't see nowadays. And on the other side, we have Hector Camacho, flamboyant, very colorful fighter. He's from Puerto Rico, but lived almost his whole life in New York. So he was bilingual, spoke English, spoke Spanish. He was very outspoken. He had a style that, the jab and move style, had a little bit of power, a lot of power, I should say. He had a lot of power, but completely different styles when it comes to boxing, and different styles, on how they would carry themselves. Again, Chavez was a people's champion. People loved him in Mexico. He would walk, in the streets, and he would just take pictures with everybody. He was the guy. He was a guy. And Camacho, he had, he was very flamboyant. He was from the streets. There's a documentary about him that, he used to rob cars as a kid, and he was just a street boy. He was a street boy. He was a little bit of, a bit of a dirty fighter in the ring. He used a lot of tactics that he said that he would learn on the streets. And so 2 different styles, right? And both coming up, both undefeated, even though Camacho had a loss on his record that ultimately was changed to a no contest. So that was controversial, but they were both coming into the fight undefeated, both champions, both in their prime, and it was a unification bout on pay-per-view. Don King was a promoter of this huge event, and it was a fight that had been marinating for so long, so long, just because they were both coming up, and they were both now established champions, and they were both undefeated. They were beating everybody. They had a couple opponents in common. Edwin Rosario, who was another Puerto Rican fighter. They had that fighter in common. They had Jose Luis Ramirez in common. So they had a lot of fights in common, but the fight was marinating. So just think about this: Mayweather and Pacquiao in their prime. How it took so long for that fight to get made. That's how long it was taking. It didn't take 5 years or 6 years for them to get in the ring, but that's how much people wanted that fight. Just think of a Pacquiao and Mayweather in the 90s, and Don King made it happen. Come into the ring September of 1992. Chavez gets into the ring. Vicente Fernandez, the legendary Vicente Fernandez, sings the national anthem, pumps everybody up. Camacho comes into the ring dancing, yelling, "It's macho time." And the bell sounds, guys, it's a wash out. Julio Cesar Chavez destroyed Hector Camacho, left his face swollen. It was really, he won by unanimous decision, but he hurt him. in the fight a couple of times. Camacho tried to move around the ring, he used his jab. Chavez just knew how to cut the ring so well. He knew how to cut the ring. Eventually would catch him a couple times, and he beat him pretty bad. And that right there, guys, is a turning point of Julio Cesar Chavez's career. After that, Chavez was already the number 1 pound for pound. After that fight, he became a living legend. He said that, he said in an interview, when I got back to Mexico after I beat Hector Macho Camacho, people treated me like the Pope. The president would come to my house. And remember, guys, this was in the 90s. I had the president at my house, and Camacho, just because he was very outspoken and he talked a lot of trash before the fight, he was kind of like, I don't want to say he was never the same. He later on, years later, he fought Sugar Ray Leonard and he had really good wins. But that right there was the actual, going back to the title, the ultimate glory. That was actually the ultimate glory. So I'm going to be doing a little more segments like these on my channel every Thursday, Throwback Thursdays. I'm going to call them Legendary Fights. So yeah, stay tuned. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about this. All you boxing fans know about this, and I just want to excite you guys and give you guys a little bit of history. I'm always going to give you guys raw, uncut, no edits, the best content that I could give you guys, because I am too a huge boxing fan.